You know, one of my favorite topics to talk about in the almost 3 years of doing Off the Rope Show, OTRS Central now, whatever, is the Breakfast Club. It's one of my favorite topics to discuss. Sometimes at my own angst, sometimes to my own enjoyment, and a lot of times at your pleasure and or displeasure, all a combination of things. The Breakfast Club represents many things to many different people. Who do I technically classify as the Breakfast Club? Well, now Shawn Michaels is retired, so he's like a Hall of Fame charter member, but he's no longer active in day-to-day responsibilities. Your leader is Triple H. Then right there with him on the next level, you've got John Cena, Randall Keith Orton, and then a level below that, you've got Sheamus, and then obviously you've got the queen bee of the Breakfast Club, Stephanie McMahon, and she's kind of in her own little realm there. So I figured, what better time, especially now looking at John Cena versus Randy Orton wrestling once again at TLC. Outstanding. It's been far too long since this happened, right? Figure this is a perfect time to do a hashtag Breakfast Club Q&A. And, I'm ready to get this going. The topic of the next Q&A, by the way, is going to be all about a grand egomaniac. It's going to be hashtag Schlegdaddy. So you can ask whatever Schlegdaddy questions you want answered. Take the Twitter after watching this Q&A and tweet your questions about me, anything and everything pertaining to me, using the hashtag Schlegdaddy. So let me pull out the old Twitter device here. Yeah, I'm actually starting to kind of sort of catch up with the times here. And try and get through as many of these questions as I can. KJ McCain asked, if you were to cut 3 top players from the roster, Breakfast Club, who would it be and who would you replace them with? One does not simply replace members of the Breakfast Club. That's not how it works. So you don't get to choose who you would take out and put in. You've got the right members in the Breakfast Club. I'll put it that way. Let's see here. At WWF Soccer 19 asks, what's your favorite match between 2 members of the Breakfast Club? Favorite match between 2 members of the Breakfast Club? Triple H, Cena, WrestleMania 22 maybe. Cena, Orton, SummerSlam 2007 would be 2 that I could think of right off the top of my head. The Loyal Pigeon Army, that's AJ Bella Army. I can't read the whole Twitter handle, I'm sorry. But it asks, what's your favorite Cena and or Orton match ever? My favorite Cena match of all time is still his very first one in WWE, and that was against Kurt Angle. I'm talking about in terms of televised one back in June of 2002 on that episode of SmackDown. That's still my favorite. For whatever reason, it's still my favorite Cena match of all time. As far as for Randy Orton, he's had some really good matches over the years, as has Cena, frankly. My favorite Orton match probably is him and Taker at WrestleMania 21. Let's see here. We've got at Wrestling Crisis, my favorite Breakfast Club member, and a time where each Breakfast Club member won when they shouldn't have. My favorite Breakfast Club member would probably be Stephanie McMahon. She's the only one that I could put babies in. So by default, she has to be the favorite one. The one I respect the most, ego respects ego. And Cena and Orton have tremendously healthy, awesome-sized egos, but they pale in comparison to God. So he would be the one, Triple H, obviously. A moment where they won that maybe each of them shouldn't. For Triple H, I would say WrestleMania 19, facing Booker T. For John Cena, I would maybe say WrestleMania 26 against Batista. And then for Triple H, I could throw out a second one, and that's maybe against Orton at WrestleMania 25. As far as for Orton, maybe WrestleMania 27 against CM Punk. Let's see here. Where do I go to next? At WWE TNA Fan Version 2. Who's your favorite member of the Breakfast Club? Oh, okay. I didn't really pre-sort these questions. I'm just pulling them off my phone one at a time. Like I said, my favorite member has to be Stephanie because she's the only one I can put babies in. But in terms of respecting one the most, it's got to be God. At Fave Moss, what heel character would you give Sheamus when he turns? Just a big fucking Irish Celtic warrior badass. Not some cartoonish ass shit, but a real legit badass that doesn't take off running looking for John Cena when the Nexus is looking at him. At DJ Haniak, How would WWE book the Royal Rumble winner if Cena and Orton had a title unification match at WrestleMania? If they had the match at WrestleMania, then maybe they would throw somebody in there as a triple threat, and then of course, obviously, it would make most logical sense to have Triple H win the Royal Rumble. You're not going to put CM Punk or Daniel Bryan in that. Get the fuck out of here. Otherwise, you would maybe have the Royal Rumble winner take on The Undertaker, because you could definitely make the argument that Undertaker's streak is as important, if not more so, I would argue more so important at WrestleMania than either one or both of the world titles. I think there could be a year where you could have the Royal Rumble winner say, you know what? Yeah, the world title is great, but you can win and lose world titles whenever you want. You only got one chance to end the streak. So, that might be something I would do. Your other question, which wrestler would you use as a plot device to turn Cena heel, and how would you book that storyline? I'm not going to talk about how I booked the storyline because that'll take too long. It's a video in and of itself. If I was going to use a character as a plot device to help turn Cena heel, you could have maybe used Zack Ryder. That would have probably have been one. Back when, the whole shit was going down with Eve Torres. Yeah, I would say Zack Ryder would have been one. At Desiization, why do superstars even bother competing when the Breakfast Club exists? Agreed. Why bother? There's just no point. You're never going to get to that level, so why try? For all the great things that CM Punk and Daniel Bryan and so many others do, they're never going to be Triple H, Randy Orton, or John Cena, so there's no point in even really trying. At Nepek Sid, who would you add to the Breakfast Club if you could? If I could add anybody to the Breakfast Club, probably, no, I'd probably say Daniel Bryan. Just as long as he had the understanding that when the time came, he had to do the right thing for business and put over Triple H, Randy Orton, and John Cena. There you go. At Panic Chemical, is Undertaker a part of the Breakfast Club? And if not, what is his relationship to them? He is not a part of the Breakfast Club, and his relationship with them is, I've beaten Orton once at WrestleMania, I've beaten Triple H 3 times at WrestleMania, John Cena's next, and maybe Sheamus is next at some point. I'm sure he has his philosophy and his way of doing things and his approach to business, and the Breakfast Club has their own, and they just kind of exist in their own different worlds. Let's see here. At California EST 96, how would you manage the Breakfast Club if you were the head writer from now to WrestleMania 30, not the porn parody? How would I manage them? Frankly, I'd probably turn them into one big monster heel stable. Why not? What the fuck you got to lose? Maybe that shit about, John Cena. Even as a heel, Cena would still sell a shit ton of merchandise. And people know it's fake anyway, so he could be an arrogant SOB and a bad guy on camera and still be a nice guy off camera. So, yeah, I'd make him a heel stable. I'd just have him obliterate everybody in the WWE, and all the while, I'd find that one guy, whether it was a Ryback or a Roman Reigns or whoever the case might be, that one guy that I would have try to work his way through the Breakfast Club to WrestleMania, to his big moment. At Jamie Ines, NZ, when the time comes that existing Breakfast Club members become too old to wrestle full-time, who will the new Breakfast Club be? One does not simply just create a new Breakfast Club, Jamie Hines and Z. They do not. Who might have like a new version of something like the Breakfast Club, but not equaling its awesomeness? Maybe you'd have some type of like internet faction of Punk, Bryan, and Ziggler. Maybe those guys. Where if you were over 6'1" and 210 pounds, they'd try to do everything they could to just bury your ass. But they won't be the Breakfast Club, that's for sure. At FXW Badass 1, if you could start a TNA club, who would be in it? A TNA club, you'd obviously have to have Sting in it. You'd have to have probably Kurt Angle in it. I'd throw AJ Styles in there and maybe like Bobby Roode. There you go. Let's see here. At Dynasty 215. For next year's Survivor Series, do you want to see the Breakfast Club versus the Circle Jerk Club of Punk, Daniel Bryan, Ambrose, Rollins, and Ziggler? That would be the internet faction, and I love that fucking name, the Circle Jerk Club. Hell yeah, I'd want to see it, and I'd want to see the Breakfast Club bury their asses. At Chrysler, Chrysler San Martin. What is the criteria the Breakfast Club uses to pick up members? Is there something like an ego meter? Yes, ego is a very important thing. You also have to be good for business. You have to have a certain look, a certain size, a certain pedigree, a certain way that you conduct and carry yourselves. There are a lot of things that go into being a part of the Breakfast Club. You must be skilled both in the ring and on the mic and backstage behind the scenes. At Caleb is God, who would you like to see? Whoa, excuse me. Would you like to see a real Breakfast Club stable? I'm not sure what you mean by that. Are you talking about what I like to see the actual whole Breakfast Club as a stable? I'm assuming that's what that question is. Fuck yes. I've wanted that for a long time. I want Triple H to be in that Flair role. I want Cena to be in that Triple H role. I want Randy Orton to be in a very similar Triple H role. I want to see Sheamus. I want to see Stephanie McMahon be in the hot eye candy of this Breakfast Club faction. They bury every fucking buddy. Hell yes. Now that, ladies and gentlemen, would be entertainment. At Motorhead94, do you think John Cena and Randy Orton are going to have absurdly long title reigns? Well, that would depend on how you would define absurdly long. You know, it's funny if somebody like CM Punk has a 434-day title reign, we come on the internet and talk about the glory of that title reign and how it's great that he had a reign for over a year and how important the world title is. Oh my God, CM Punk is the greatest WWE champion in the motherfucking world in history. You know, so do I think they're going to have absurdly long title reigns? No, maybe at TLC they'll switch the belts since apparently it sounds like they're, at the moment at least, or as I'm recording this, that they're not unifying them. So you might be like Orton saying, no, I want this belt. And John Cena will say, no, I want that belt. And that's an interesting thing. That brings up a very compelling question, doesn't it? I'm actually somewhat riveted to figure out the answer. If John Cena gets the WWE Championship and Randall Keith Orton gets the World Heavyweight Championship, wouldn't that technically be dropping a title and winning a new one, therefore adding another world title reign to each of their resumes? I think so. That gets Cena that much closer to Ric Flair's 16, damn it. It's coming, ladies and gentlemen. Cena's going to get to at least 20. Make no mistake about it. Cena will have by far the most recognized world title reigns in wrestling history by the time his career is done in WWE, period. If you don't like it, that's just too damn bad. At Mr. Nice Hangover Guy, hey, do you think there should be a wrestles to have a fantasy feud with the Breakfast Club like Vince Russo, Jeff Jarrett? No, what the fuck are you talking about? Do not ever mention Vince Russo and Jeff Jarrett in any way, shape, or form, aligned in any way or around any way with the Breakfast Club. Ridiculous. Your other question, do you think Foley should be in the Breakfast Club Hall of Fame for putting over some of the members like Triple H and Randall Keith Orton? And don't forget Batista, you could argue, was a Breakfast Club member at one point in time. I think he's an honorary member. He can't be a full-time member because Mick Foley was one level and he didn't have that look. He wasn't that type of guy like a Triple H, a John Cena, or a Randy Orton. He wasn't of that esteem. He wasn't of that pedigree. But an honorary member, maybe, yes. Did he do a lot to help the Breakfast Club? Absolutely. Did he make stars out of people in the Breakfast Club? No question about it. So an honorary spot maybe in the Hall of Fame of the Breakfast Club, yeah, I guess you could give him that. So that's it. That's all the questions it looks like I've got for the time being for the Breakfast Club. Remember, take to Twitter. The next Q&A topic is going to be hashtag Schlegdaddy, my favorite topic. Me, motherfuckers. Hope you enjoyed this one. You're going to love the next one. I'm sure of it, brother.